When they underestimated me, that was their last mistake.
So it started on a Tuesday evening. Tuesdays were always our night together, the one evening each week where Rachel and I would cook dinner, sit at our small dining table, and pretend we were still the same people who fell in love 4 years ago. I'd spend over an hour preparing her favorite roast chicken, getting the skin perfectly crispy the way her late mother used to make it. I'd even ironed cloth napkins that morning before work, and lit candles because she once mentioned candlelight made everything feel romantic. Rachel walked through the door at 7:30 with her phone pressed against her ear, laughing at something I couldn't hear. Her designer heels clicked across the hardwood floor as she barely glanced at the carefully set table. She disappeared into our bedroom, still on the call, her voice carrying through the apartment like background music I was no longer invited to enjoy. That's when I heard it. I know, right? That's what I said. He's sweet, but... That single word hung in the air. But I carefully set down the serving spoon I'd been holding. My hands stayed surprisingly steady, even though my chest felt like it was tightening and my throat was closing around words I couldn't form. She came back 10 minutes later, phone finally silent and tucked into her back pocket. She smiled at me with that particular smile she used when she was about to ask for something or smooth over something awkward. Sorry about that, she said, sliding into her chair. Jessica was having a crisis. You know how she gets. I nodded, poured her wine, served her plate first like I always did. She took a bite, made an appreciative sound, and for just a moment I thought maybe I'd misheard that conversation. This is really good, she said. You've perfected it. You should cook more often. You're way better at it than I am. I smiled, though it felt like wearing a mask. You've been busy. God, you have no idea. Work has been absolutely insane, and planning this birthday thing is taking over my entire life. Jessica and the girls have opinions about literally everything. The venue, the theme, the guest list. It's completely exhausting. Her birthday was 3 weeks away. I'd been planning a surprise for months. A trip to the coast, that boutique hotel she'd bookmarked on Instagram. Dinner reservations at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. I'd even bought the ring 2 months earlier. Platinum with a single diamond. Simple and elegant. The exact style she'd pointed out in a jewelry store window last spring when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I'm sure it'll be perfect, I said. It has to be. She leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement and anxiety. Everyone's going to be there, my entire friend group, people from work. It's going to be this huge thing. Sounds like a lot of pressure. It is, she paused, pushing food around her plate. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. My stomach dropped at her tone. That careful neutrality, the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I knew that tone. It was how people delivered bad news while pretending it was for your own good. Okay, I said. She took another sip of wine, set down the glass, finally looked at me directly. So the girls have been asking about you, about us, and I've been thinking about this, and I don't know how to say it without sounding terrible. Just say it! She exhaled slowly, like she was releasing something she'd been holding onto for way too long. They don't think you're impressive enough for me. The words landed between us like stones dropped into still water, heavy, final, rippling outward. I couldn't speak. My brain was trying to process what I'd just heard, trying to arrange the words into something that made sense, but they kept sliding apart. I mean, they love you, she continued quickly as if that made it better. They think you're sweet and kind and stable, but they think I could do better, that I should aim higher. Higher, I repeated. The word tasted bitter. You know what I mean. Someone more ambitious. Someone with more presence, I guess. Someone who makes an impression when they walk into a room. I looked at her across that table. This woman I'd loved for 4 years. This woman whose opinion I'd valued above almost anyone else's. And I realized I was looking at a stranger. Someone who could sit in candlelight eating a meal I'd spent an hour preparing and tell me I wasn't enough, while her friends' voices echoed in her head. And what do you think? I asked. My voice was too calm, the kind of calm that comes right before a storm. She hesitated. I think they might have a point. There it was. The thing she'd been circling around, dressed up in other people's opinions so she wouldn't have to claim it as her own. But I heard it clearly now. She agreed with them. Had maybe always agreed. I see, I said. Don't be like that. Her voice took on a defensive edge. I'm just being honest. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? You're right, I said. Honesty is important. She relaxed slightly, mistaking my agreement for acceptance. I knew you'd understand. You're so understanding. That's one of the things I love about you. But I think I need to explore what else is out there. See if there's someone more aligned with where I'm going in life. The candles flickered between us. Outside, I could hear traffic, a distant siren, the ordinary sounds of a city going about its ordinary evening. Inside, something was ending. Then go ahead, I said. Aim higher, explore, find someone more impressive. She blinked. What? Go ahead, you're breaking up with me. I'm just agreeing with you. That's not what I said. I just think we need to talk about where we're going. We just did. I stood up and began clearing the plates. I think we're done talking. You're being dramatic. Am I? I turned to really look at her, trying to find the woman I'd fallen in love with and the woman sitting at my table, wearing the expensive heels I'd bought her, telling me I wasn't good enough. I couldn't find her. Maybe she'd never existed. Maybe I'd been in love with a fiction. I know what you think. Your friends made it very clear and you agreed, so let's not drag this out. She stood up too, chair scraping against the floor. Fine, maybe I will find someone better. Good luck, I said, and I meant it in the way you wish someone luck when you know they're about to learn something the hard way. She grabbed her purse, keys, and phone, then hesitated at the door, like she was waiting for me to stop her, to call her back, to apologize for not being impressive enough. When I didn't, she left. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like finality. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after she left, staring at the burning candles, the wine glasses, the dinner I'd made. Then I walked to my home office, opened my laptop, and started making calls. Coastal hotel reservation? Canceled. Full refund. They were understanding. Restaurant reservation? Canceled. The surprise helicopter tour? Canceled. But the birthday venue? The one she thought she'd been planning with her friends? The one I'd secretly put a deposit on 2 months ago because she'd mentioned it offhandedly? That one I kept. I just made some modifications to the guest list. Then I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the ring box, setting it on top of a thick file folder I'd been maintaining for the past 6 months. That folder was full of documentation, proof, numbers that told a story she didn't know I'd been writing. My phone buzzed. Text from my business partner, Kevin. Board meeting moved to next week. They want the full presentation. Are you ready? I looked at the ring, at the folder, at the remnants of a life I'd been living in the shadows because I thought it was what she wanted. Stability. Predictability. Someone who didn't make waves. More than ready, I typed back. Here's the thing Rachel didn't know, the thing nobody knew except Kevin and our lawyer. 2 years ago, Kevin and I had started a software company. We'd been building a data analytics platform in Kevin's garage, working nights and weekends while keeping our day jobs. It started as a side project that might amount to something or might fizzle out like most startups do. Then 6 months ago, everything changed. A Fortune 500 company reached out wanting to license our software, wanting to integrate it into their entire operation. The numbers they mentioned were staggering. We took the licensing deal, kept the company independent, and suddenly our side project was generating 7-figure revenue. I'd wanted to tell Rachel, had actually planned to tell her as part of the birthday surprise. Imagine proposing with the ring and the truth simultaneously, revealing that the middle management job was just cover, that we could have whatever life she wanted. But that conversation required trust. Somewhere along the way, without me quite noticing, I'd stopped trusting her with the parts of me that mattered. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke to silence. Not the comfortable silence of shared space, but emptiness. The apartment felt larger, like the walls had expanded overnight. I got up, made coffee, opened my laptop. There was work to do. Breakups aren't dramatic. They're administrative. A series of methodical steps that add up to complete separation. I started with the apartment. It had always been in my name. I called the landlord about the early termination clause. He was surprised but didn't ask questions. Next, utilities, subscriptions, streaming services she'd added to my accounts, all transferred or canceled. I went through my phone and deleted the photos. Not from anger, but necessity. Why keep evidence of something that never really existed? My phone buzzed. Text from her. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment, imagining the conversation. Her wanting to explain, to contextualize, expecting me to be there waiting, ready to be convinced. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Then I called my lawyer. "Mark," I said when he picked up, "I need to move some things around. Can you meet today? 11 work? Perfect." Mark had been my attorney for 3 years since I'd started the company. Expensive, precise, discreet. His office was downtown in one of those glass towers. I'd always met him after work hours, never when Rachel might ask questions about where I was going. "So what's going on?" Mark asked when I arrived. "Relationship ended. I need to separate my assets, make sure there's no financial entanglement." Was she aware of the company? No. He nodded, understanding without needing explanation. Then this should be straightforward. We spent an hour going through details, account numbers, property, investments that had appreciated significantly. Mark took precise notes, asked clarifying questions. "One more thing," I said as we wrapped up. "There's a birthday party in 2 weeks, Saturday the 15th. I put a deposit on the venue. I want to keep it, but I need to make adjustments." He looked at me carefully. "What kind of adjustments?" I told him. His expression didn't change, but I saw the slight curl of his lips, professional appreciation of a well-constructed plan. "That's elegant," he said. "Possibly therapeutic. Definitely effective. Will it work legally? You're not doing anything illegal. You're hosting an event you paid for, inviting people you have the right to invite, presenting factually accurate information. I don't see a problem. Good." The elevator descended 40 floors, and with each floor I felt more like myself, the self I'd been before I started measuring my worth by someone else's standards. My phone rang, unknown number. "Is this Mr. Thompson?" "Yes. This is Rebecca from Highlands Resort, calling to confirm your reservation for the 22nd. The surprise trip. I'd forgotten. "Actually, I need to cancel that." "What's the refund policy?" "You booked the premium package, fully refundable, up to 48 hours before check-in. I can process that now. Please." That night I went to the real office. Not the corporate job where I maintained my cover, but the warehouse space in the arts district that Kevin and I had converted into headquarters. Exposed brick, standing desks, whiteboards covered in code. 6 employees, all smart and hungry, building something that mattered. Kevin looked up when I walked in. "Hey, thought you weren't coming in today. Change of plans." I told him enough, and the dinner conversation, the friend's opinions, her agreement, the decision to end it. "I'm sorry, man," he said. "That's brutal. It is what it is. You okay?" "Better than expected, actually." "So what now? You finally going to stop hiding this place?" I'd told Kevin from the beginning why I was keeping the company quiet. He'd understood, but always thought I was being overly cautious. "Yeah," I said, "and I think it's time." "About damn time. We've got that board meeting next week. The investors are ready to talk second-round funding. We could be looking at 10 times current valuation." "I know what that means. So you're finally going to stop living like a monk and buy yourself something nice?" I thought about the apartment I was leaving, the modest lifestyle I'd maintained, the way I'd kept myself small to fit someone else's vision. Maybe. First, I need to close some doors. The next 2 weeks passed steadily. I went to both jobs, lived in the space between my old life and whatever was coming. She tried calling from different numbers. I never answered. She showed up at the apartment once. I was already mostly moved out. "You're really doing this?" she asked, staring at the half-empty living room. "Over one conversation?" "It wasn't a conversation, it was a revelation." She shook her head, eyes bright with something that looked like tears but might have been anger. "You're being childish, throwing away 4 years because your feelings got hurt." "Goodbye," I said, and closed the door. The night before her party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my new apartment, high-rise downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place I'd always wanted, and thought about what tomorrow would bring. My phone buzzed at 3:47 a.m. Unknown number, but I recognized it. Jessica, her best friend. One of the voices that had told her I wasn't impressive enough. "Please pick up," she was crying. "Please, something happened at the party setup. It's about you. You need to know before tomorrow." I'm listening. "The venue, the party. We're here for final walkthrough before tomorrow, and they showed us the seating chart, the guest list, and your name was on it. Not as her +1, as the host." Silence stretched between us. "I don't understand what that means," she said, but I could hear that she was starting to. "She told us she was hosting, that she'd planned everything. But the venue manager kept thanking you, kept saying how generous you were. And then she showed us the invoice." What did the invoice say? Everything. Her voice was barely a whisper. The deposit you put down 3 months ago. The premium package she told us was a good deal she'd negotiated. The bar service, the catering, the DJ, it's all in your name. You paid for everything. I did. But she told us she was funding this herself, that you weren't even invited. I wasn't. She uninvited me 2 weeks ago when she decided I wasn't impressive enough. The sound Jessica made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Oh God, that conversation. We were at dinner talking about relationships and I said, I know what you said. She told me. I didn't mean it like that. We were just being stupid, talking trash the way friends do. I didn't think she'd actually take it seriously. She agreed with you, used it as a reason to end things. So whatever guilt you're feeling, you should probably feel it. She was fully crying now. I'm so sorry. We were wrong. We were so wrong. And now the venue manager is asking about tomorrow, about whether you're still planning to attend, and I don't know what to tell her. I stood up, walked to the window. 43 floors below, the city was alive with movement. Tell her I'll be there, I said. And Jessica, tell the others too. Tell all of her friends. Tell them to pay attention tomorrow, because they're about to learn something important about assumptions. What are you going to do? I'm going to give a toast, I said, and hung up. The morning of her birthday dawned clear and cold. I stood in front of my closet and chose a suit, not the cheap one from work functions. The Tom Ford, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the kind that announced you belonged in rooms where decisions got made. White shirt, smoke-colored tie, shoes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, but something had shifted. The way I held myself, the way I looked back at my own reflection without apology. The venue was a converted warehouse with exposed brick and Edison lights. She'd always wanted to have an event there. I'd booked it 6 months ago when I thought we'd be celebrating together. I arrived early. The staff was still setting up. The venue manager saw me, her face brightening with recognition and nervousness. Mr. Thompson, she said, we weren't sure you were still planning to attend. I'm here and I'd like to make adjustments to the schedule. The toast, I'd like to give it right after dinner. Can we set up a microphone and screen for a presentation? A presentation? Just a few slides, nothing elaborate. I pulled a flash drive from my pocket. Everything's on here. Should we check with the guest of honor? It's a surprise, I said, and smiled in a way that made her stop asking questions. Guests started arriving around 7. I watched from the bar as people filed in. Her friends first, whispering nervously. Then work colleagues. Then, at exactly 7:30, Rachel arrived wearing a red dress I'd never seen, expensive and demanding attention. She walked in expecting applause, and slowly people noticed, started clapping and calling out birthday wishes. She didn't see me at first. I was standing at the back, but Jessica saw me. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw her face crumple before she looked away. Dinner was served at 8, 3 courses, each dish from the menu I'd selected months ago. I sat alone at a back table and ate in silence while conversation flowed around me. Rachel finally noticed me during the main course. I watched as her gaze swept the venue and landed on me. I saw shock register, saw her mouth form my name, saw her stand up, hesitate, sit back down. She said something to Jessica, who shook her head and looked away. Dessert plates were cleared. The venue manager dimmed the lights, brought out the microphone, gestured to me. The room went quiet. People turned, trying to figure out who I was and what was happening. Hi, I said into the microphone. For those who don't know me, my name is Daniel Thompson. I was in a relationship with the birthday girl for 4 years until 2 weeks ago. I'm not here to ruin anyone's evening. I'm here because I paid for this party, and I thought everyone should know the truth. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Rachel had gone pale, hands gripping the table edge. I booked this venue in August, paid for everything you've seen tonight. The food, the bar, the music. I did it because I loved her and wanted to give her the birthday she deserved. The screen behind me flickered to life. First slide, the venue invoice. My name at the top, the amount paid, the date, 3 months ago. Next slide, receipts. 4 years of dates, gifts, trips, vacations. All documented, all time-stamped. A financial history of our relationship. These are receipts from our relationship. Not all of them, that would take all night, but enough to show a pattern. I'm showing these not to prove I'm generous, but to prove I was present, invested, committed. Her friends were staring at her now. Next slide, a photograph of Rachel from 2 weeks ago, the night she'd told me I wasn't impressive enough. 2 weeks ago, she told me her friends thought I wasn't impressive enough for her, that she should aim higher. And you know what? She was right to listen to them, because I clearly wasn't giving her the full picture of who I was. Final slide, my company logo, Tech Vault Solutions. Beneath it, the recent press release about our licensing deal, the valuation, the projected growth. I'm co-founder and CEO of Tech Vault Solutions. We're a data analytics company currently valued at $43 million. We signed a licensing deal with a Fortune 500 company 6 months ago. We're looking at acquisition offers that would increase that valuation tenfold within the year. Dead silence. You could hear a pin drop. I never told her this because I wanted to build something real before announcing it. I wanted to be sure it wasn't just luck or timing. And I was planning to tell her tonight, actually, as part of a birthday surprise. I was going to propose. I pulled the ring box from my pocket, held it up so everyone could see. But 2 weeks ago, she told me I wasn't enough. So instead of a proposal, you get a presentation. Instead of celebrating our future, you get the truth about our past. And the truth is this: I was impressive the whole time. I just didn't need to announce it to feel valuable. I set down the microphone and walked toward the door. Behind me, chaos erupted. Voices rising, chairs scraping, someone crying. But I didn't look back. Jessica caught me in the parking lot, breathless. Wait, please just wait. What? I'm sorry, for all of it. For not knowing. It's done, I said quietly. What happens now is up to her and all of you. I got in my car and drove away, leaving the party, the venue, the life I'd built with someone who'd never really seen me. I drove for an hour with no destination, just movement. My phone was buzzing constantly. Texts, calls, notifications piling up. I ignored all of it. Eventually, I looked. 47 missed calls, 62 text messages, 3 voicemails. Jessica had called multiple times, Rachel's other friends, and Rachel, 23 messages, each more desperate than the last. One voicemail was from Patricia at the venue. The party ended early. After you left, there was quite a bit of discussion, and the guest of honor decided to leave. Just wanted to check in and make sure you're okay. What you did tonight was something. Another from Kevin. Dude, I don't know what happened, but my phone is blowing up with LinkedIn requests from people at some party. They're asking about our company. Whatever you did, it's making waves. The third was Jessica again, recorded an hour after her first call. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know what happened after you left. She tried to explain it away, said you were exaggerating, that the company wasn't really yours. But Jessica pulled up the press release on her phone. The Forbes article about emerging tech companies. Your picture was right there. CEO and co-founder. Everyone just stared at her. And she kept trying to explain, but Lauren asked why you would hide success unless you didn't trust her. Kim asked if she'd ever actually asked about your work. And she couldn't answer. She's been calling me all night, crying, but James, I don't think she's crying because she hurt you. I think she's crying because she got caught underestimating you. I sat in my car by the waterfront, watching lights reflect on the water, and thought about the difference between regret and remorse. Regret is about yourself, the consequences you're facing, the opportunities you've lost. Remorse is about the other person, the pain you've caused. She was regretting, not showing remorse. I finally opened her messages, read them in order, watching the progression from confusion to anger to panic to something that looked like grief but might just be self-pity. Every message was about her feelings, her embarrassment, her pain. Not once did she ask how I felt. Not once did she acknowledge that she'd hurt me. I deleted them all. The Forbes article went live 3 weeks later. The Invisible CEO, how Daniel Thompson built a 43 million company while everyone was looking the other way. It went viral. My phone became unusable. By noon, our website had crashed from traffic. Tech blogs picked it up. Some articles were sympathetic. Others accused me of being petty, unnecessarily dramatic. A few questioned whether someone who'd staged such a public confrontation was stable enough to run a company. But underneath all the opinions, there was admiration, recognition, the sense that I'd done something a lot of people wished they could do, proved wrong everyone who'd ever underestimated them. That same week, someone named Elena reached out. She worked with Rachel in marketing. We met at a coffee shop. I've known her for 3 years, Elena said, and I need to tell you something I should have told you long ago, except I didn't know you existed. Not really. Go ahead. She talked about you at work, always diminishing you. Little comments that seemed harmless but added up. My boyfriend's not ambitious. He's sweet but boring. He has a decent job, but nothing special. She made you sound like an accessory, like she was settling until something better came along. The words landed with the dull ache of confirmation. And none of us questioned it because we believed her. When she'd talk about vacations, she'd say she paid. Nice apartment, she'd imply it was hers. She was always the one with money, taste, ambition. You were just there. Elena pulled out her phone, showed me Slack messages. Rachel's name at the top, responding to someone asking about weekend plans. Taking my boyfriend to this new restaurant I found. He's not really a foodie, but I'm trying to expand his horizons. Sometimes I feel like I'm dating a child. Below it, laughing emojis, sympathetic comments. Girl, I've been there. You deserve someone on your level. There are dozens of these, Elena said, maybe hundreds. Years of little comments, little put-downs, painting you as someone who needed her to elevate him. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been where you are. My ex spent 5 years telling people I was difficult and demanding while he was actually cheating. When someone controls the narrative about you, it's a form of violence. You deserve to know the full extent of it. How bad was it? Bad enough that when you revealed the truth Saturday night, half the office was texting about it by midnight. Bad enough that yesterday she met with HR about hostile work environment. She's claiming maltreatment? She's claiming people are treating her differently because of her personal life, that she's being judged unfairly. And what did HR say? Elena smiled grimly. They said that lying about your financial situation and taking credit for things your partner paid for isn't a protected class. They also said people are allowed to form opinions based on publicly available information. Is she going to be fired? They're investigating. Turns out she's been taking credit for other people's work for over a year. The party thing made colleagues start asking questions. They pulled communication logs. It's not looking good. A week later, I heard Rachel had been let go. Not because of the party, but because of the pattern HR uncovered. Summit Capital reached out with an acquisition offer. Kevin and I met with them. Margaret Chen, the lead partner in her team. Before we start, Margaret said, I want to address the elephant in the room. You've had a very public, personal situation. Some of my partners are concerned about stability. Can you speak to that? Yes, I said. What happened was the result of living in a false narrative. I was hiding who I was because I thought that's what maintaining a relationship required. When that narrative collapsed, it was painful and public. But it was necessary because you can't build something great while pretending to be less than you are. I advanced the slide showing our growth trajectory. I spent 2 years building this company in the shadows. That period is over. We're ready to be visible, ready to scale, ready to become what we've always had the potential to be. Margaret studied me. And you think you're ready to be the public face of a company that could be worth $500 million in 3 years? I don't think it. I know it. Because I've already done the hard part, building something real without attention, resources, or validation. We presented for 90 minutes. When we finished, Margaret walked to the window, looked out at the city. You know what impressed me most about the Forbes article? Not the party story. The detail about how you'd been profitable from year one. How you bootstrapped everything while maintaining complete control. That's rare. That level of discipline tells me you're not just smart, you're strategic. She turned back. I think we're going to make you an offer. A significant one. My team will work up details over the weekend. But I can tell you now, we're looking at a valuation north of $100 million. The deal closed at $127 million with performance milestones that could push it past $200 million within 2 years. Kevin and I both cried when we signed the papers. I gave my first keynote to 2,000 people at a tech conference. Talked about building in secret, choosing truth over comfortable lies, what it means to be impressive in a world that confuses visibility with value. Afterward, Jessica found me. She'd cut her hair, dressed casually. Thanks for seeing me, she said. I wanted to hear what you've been building. We found a quiet corner. I've been thinking about that conversation, she started, where I called you after the party. I realized I was still making it about my guilt instead of the actual damage. So I want to say this clearly. I'm sorry for creating an environment where she felt comfortable diminishing you. We reinforced her worst instincts instead of challenging them. Thank you. She keeps texting me, Jessica continued, asking me to help her get you back, to tell you she's changed. But I won't do it. Because I don't think she has changed. I think she's just gotten better at performing remorse. 3 months later, I stood in the building I'd just purchased for TechVault's new headquarters. 200 employees. Offices opening in New York and Austin. Revenue projections that made everyone nervous in the best possible way. Rachel showed up one day. She'd lost weight, looked smaller somehow. Hi, she said. I'm sorry to ambush you, but you blocked my number and won't return emails. I needed to see you. How did you find me? It's not exactly a secret. Forbes, TechCrunch, Bloomberg. You're everywhere now. If you came for closure, I gave you that months ago. I know. She moved closer. But I didn't accept it. I kept thinking if I could just explain, you'd give me another chance. But that's not why I'm here anymore. I'm here because I need to say something, then I need to let you go. Really let you go. Okay. I've spent 6 months trying to understand what I did. Not just to you, but to myself. How I became someone who measures people like commodities, who takes credit for things she didn't earn, who tears down the person she loves to feel better about her own insecurities. And did you figure it out? Some of it. I grew up being told I had to be exceptional to matter. So I learned to make myself look exceptional by making everyone else look ordinary. And with you, it was easy because you were actively hiding how extraordinary you were. I didn't have to tear you down. You'd already done it to yourself. I just had to maintain the illusion. She wiped her eyes. But here's what I finally understand. Real worth doesn't require diminishing other people. Real confidence doesn't need constant validation. And real love sees clearly and chooses anyway. That's good insight. I'm glad you're getting there. I am. But, Daniel, I'm not getting there fast enough. Or maybe I am, but it doesn't matter because the person I'm becoming is someone I should have been before I met you. She stopped, caught herself. The person you're with now, they're going to get the version of you that knows its worth. And they'll never have to help you see yourself clearly because you already do. What are you saying? I'm saying I lost my chance. I had 4 years to see you, to ask questions, to build something real. And I squandered it. Worse, I actively destroyed it by choosing comfortable lies over uncomfortable truth. I hope you figure it out, I said. Well, I really do. But that transformation isn't my responsibility. It's yours. I know. She picked up her purse. One more thing. I've been telling people the truth about who paid for what, about the company you were building, while I was telling everyone you were mediocre. It's the least I can do. Correcting the record. Thank you. And Daniel, I'm genuinely happy for you. For what you've built, for who you've become. You deserve all of it. She walked to the door, paused. You know what the worst part is? I look at what you've built and realize I could have been part of this. But I was so busy being afraid of your potential that I never considered my own. And that's something I'll have to live with. We both will, I said, but living with it gets easier. She nodded, smiled sadly, and left. That weekend I drove up the coast, rented a small house on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Spent 2 days doing nothing, reading, walking the beach, sitting with coffee, and watching the light change. Sunday morning I woke before dawn and walked down to the beach. The sand was cold and damp, the sky purple-gray right before sunrise. I stood there alone, thinking about the last year. My phone buzzed. Margaret from Summit Capital. Board wants to discuss international expansion, London and Singapore. You interested in building this thing global? I stood on that beach, watching the sun break the horizon, understanding that this was it. This was the life I'd built, by refusing to stay small, by choosing truth over comfort, by believing that being seen was worth the risk. Very interested, I typed back. Let's talk Monday. The sun turned everything gold. Behind me, the beach filled with people, families, surfers, couples walking hand in hand. Life continuing while mine had become extraordinary. Not because I'd changed who I was, but because I'd finally stopped asking permission to exist at full volume. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, if you've ever made yourself small for someone else's comfort, remember this. The truth will always find a way to the surface, and when it does, the only question is whether you'll have the courage to stand in it. Choose truth. Choose yourself. The world will adjust.